Sometimes capturing the God side of Jesus is easier from a historical perspective for Christians than capturing the human side. They're different, but the same, right? I want to start by giving credit where credit is due. If you haven't seen the series The Chosen, you have to make that a top priority. It's beyond fantastic. And not just saying that as a believer and as a Christian, but saying that as just a lover of entertainment. It's just fantastic. Watching the series triggered this particular chapter of our podcast and triggered an idea for me to explore. First, let's read this account. This is in John chapter 2, verse 1 through 11. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kinds used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink, but you've saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed him. Notice Jesus responds to his mother, "My time has not yet come." What do you think he means by this? Because I believe Jesus had control over when he was going to reveal himself. The reason I believe this is that if there were some concrete time for him to begin revealing himself, his mom could hardly talk him into changing the plan, the eternal plan. If he controlled and decided when to officially begin his ministry, why did he choose here? The Chosen does a wonderful job of answering this by using a little discretion and suggesting that Mary asked Jesus, if not now, when? Whether or not this happened is irrelevant. What is relevant is what might cause Jesus to stall the beginning of his ministry. Really, the beginning of revealing himself to the world and the miracles that would soon be shown. I want to suggest that the miracle of the water to wine can be bookended very symmetrically with Jesus' prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane right before his arrest. When he asked God if there's any way this cup can be passed, not by my will though, by your will let it be done. We know that when Jesus was in Gethsemane after the Last Supper, before his arrest, he knew all too well what was going to happen. This is why his sweat was like drops of blood and his prayer was so human, if any human could perfectly pray when facing what Jesus was facing. His was as human as you can get and at the same time, perfect. So how does the water into wine connect to the Garden of Gethsemane? I would like to suggest that as human as Jesus was in the garden, he also knew that with the performance publicly of turning water to wine, the countdown to the cross had begun. Whether or not Mary asked Jesus, if not now, when, it is a wonderful representation of a mother pushing her son toward his calling and his destiny. Jesus is fully God, and he was also fully man. And while he would warn people that had received healing and witnessed miracles to tell no one, the fact that God walked the earth was too much to keep a secret, and the inevitable walk to Calvary had begun. I don't know why Jesus chose the wedding to begin his public display of his godhood. Maybe it was 100% pre-chosen by him, or maybe it was a mother's love. Either way, his destiny was set. He knew what would happen and how the world would respond to him, and while he never sinned, I believe he experienced stress and fatigue, maybe even fear. Not at where he would end up, per se, but the simple fear of facing unimaginable physical pain, which he would feel every cut, every tear of his flesh through the entire crucifixion. And even though his path was set, maybe a mother's love was all a big part of it. Of course, this is all speculation, but it is something to think about. Jesus was fully and is fully God, and Jesus on this earth was fully man. It's not a sin to have fear. It's not a sin to have anxiety and stress. Those are all part of being human. It's a sin to deny God's will for your own life, to turn your back on his command, to knowingly go against of what you believe he's telling you to do. Jesus did none of that. He never sinned. And even though he never sinned, he experienced all the same human fear and anxiety and stress of a person very aware of what they were about to face. It's easy to see the God side of Jesus, but I believe when we see the human side of Jesus, we understand more clearly who he's calling us to be, who we should be, and he makes himself a lot more relatable to the stuff that we're going through. Something to think about. Until next time.